My name is Julia, and I once thought I had the perfect life. I was a bright, cheerful, and optimistic girl who believed happiness came effortlessly. My world was filled with love for my father, success, and everything I thought I could ever want, but one night changed everything. A night that shattered my understanding of life itself. Everything I believed in, everything I trusted was thrown into chaos, and my world turned upside down in an instant. If you enjoy hearing fascinating TR stories like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel and watch this video until the end. Don't forget to hit the like button to show your support. It really helps me keep sharing these powerful stories. Trust me, this is a story you won't want to miss. That night would haunt me forever. It was the night my sense of comfort and trust in those closest to me crumbled. It marked the beginning of a dark chapter in my life. I learned the painful truth that not everyone who smiles at you is a friend, and not everyone who says they care truly has your best interests at heart. My father, Thomas, is a wealthy and incredibly successful man, a business magnate who built his empire from the ground up after my mother passed away when I was young, leaving me without her love and guidance. My father never remarried. Instead, he poured everything into raising me, his only daughter. I was the apple of his eye, his pride and joy. He may have been busy, constantly caught up in his work, but he always made sure I felt, cherished, loved, and important. We lived in New York, the city that never sleeps, full of lights, ambition, and endless possibilities. It was a fast-paced life filled with moments of grandeur, but even in the midst of all the excitement, I never truly knew where my father's heart lay. It wasn't in one particular house or building. He would point to the towering skyscrapers and luxurious homes around the city, saying, "I have one of those," or "I own several properties in this area." I often wondered how much wealth he truly had to afford all of this. What kind of person would be able to live such a lavish lifestyle? It was both impressive and overwhelming. With his success, Thomas had formed a large circle of powerful friends. These weren't just acquaintances, they were big players in the business world, influential individuals and leaders with important roles in society. Whether it was at grand parties, exclusive events, or important conferences, my father was always invited. I was often by his side, a proud daughter walking arm in arm with her successful father. I became accustomed to these events, to the compliments, the glances, and the way people admired my father, but there was one person in particular who stood out among my father's friends. His name was David, and according to my father, he was more than just a friend. He was family. David and my father had known each other since college, having gone through difficult years together. They started their business journey side by side, and their bond grew stronger over the years. My father would often say, with David, "I feel like I have another brother." It was these words, this deep connection, that made me admire their friendship and trust David as a member of our family. At these grand gatherings, my father and David would often be together, laughing, reminiscing about the old days, and celebrating their success. I would watch them with admiration and respect, seeing their relationship as something rare and special. David was always well-spoken, charismatic, and made everyone feel comfortable around him. He had an aura of trustworthiness and kindness that made him easy to talk to me. He was like an uncle, a family friend I could talk to freely, share my thoughts with, and seek advice from. But little did I know, the very man who had earned my complete trust, the man I considered family, was hiding a dark side, one that would destroy everything I held dear. David was always polite and charming, never giving me a reason to question his actions. He was like a father figure to me, always telling me how smart, beautiful, and accomplished I was. I admired him as a mentor, someone who always had a kind word and offered guidance. But the longer I spent time with him, the more I began to notice something that didn't sit right with me. It was a look in his eyes, a fleeting yet unsettling gaze that left me with an uncomfortable feeling, a look that made my skin crawl whenever I remembered it. I brushed it off, convincing myself that it was just my imagination. The night that everything changed seemed like a regular evening, one that should have been no different from any other event I had attended with my father. It was an elegant, high-profile party at a prestigious hotel where my father was the keynote speaker. He had worked for weeks preparing his speech, and as usual, I accompanied him to the event. My father was busy with important business discussions, so I wandered around the venue, enjoying the grand atmosphere of the party. The room was buzzing with excitement and energy, and I felt a little out of place, but I was used to it by now. It wasn't long before David appeared. He greeted me with his usual friendly smile, asking me how I was doing, and making small talk about my life and studies as always. He complimented me on how radiant I looked in the dress my father had bought for me. I smiled back, flattered, thinking he was just being a kind, caring family friend. He asked how everything was going and what my plans were for the future. He seemed genuinely interested, and I felt reassured by his kindness. Little did I know that my trust in him was about to be shattered. After our brief conversation, I excused myself to find the bathroom. I had been walking around for a while and needed a break, but as I made my way through the hotel's massive hallways, I suddenly realized that I had no idea where the bathroom was. The hotel was so large and the hallways seemed to stretch on endlessly. I stood there confused, trying to figure out which direction to go. That's when David appeared again, seemingly out of nowhere. He smiled warmly and offered to help me find the restroom. This place is huge and it's easy to get lost, he said, still completely trusting him. I agreed and followed him without question. I had no reason to doubt him. He was family after all. As we walked down the long, brightly lit hallways, David pointed toward a door and told me was the restroom. Feeling relieved, I stepped inside, but just as I was about to close the door, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Before I could react, David had followed me inside and quickly locked the door behind us. The sound of the lock clicking into place echoed in the small space, and I froze in terror. In that instant, I knew something was terribly wrong. David was no longer the friendly, trustworthy man I had known. His eyes were cold, calculating, and filled with an intensity I had never seen before. The warm smile he usually wore was replaced by a sinister grin that sent a chill down my spine. "David, what are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling with fear. I tried to keep calm, but my shaking hands betrayed me. My fear grew as he didn't answer me. Instead, he moved closer, his eyes never leaving mine. I backed away, but the small space of the bathroom left me with nowhere to go. My back hit the wall, and I felt cornered. Panic rose in me as I realized there was no way out. The door behind me was locked, and I was completely alone with him. "David, please let me go," I pleaded, trying to stay calm. "This is the bathroom. You don't have to do this." But he just smiled, a cold, terrifying smile. "Don't be afraid," he said softly, his voice low and sinister. "I just want to talk like we used to." I could feel the air in the room grow thick with tension, and I knew I had to get out of there, but I couldn't move. David was too close, and I could feel his strength as he placed a hand on my shoulder. I recoiled in fear, trying to push him away, but his grip tightened, and I realized I was powerless to escape. "Let me go. David. You can't do this," I cried, my voice desperate now. "No one can hear us," he said, his voice cold and defiant. "It's just you and me here." Terror filled me as I realized I was trapped with no one around to hear my screams. I tried to fight back, to push him away with all my strength, but I was no match for him. David was stronger, and soon he was on top of me, overpowering me with ease for what seemed like an eternity. I struggled and screamed, but it was hopeless. The music and laughter from the party outside drowned out everything. I was alone, helpless, and terrified. Eventually, after what felt like hours, I was freed from David's grip. The door suddenly opened, and light from the hallway flooded in along with my father's worried voice. "Julia, where are you?" My father shouted, rushing in with several other people. When he saw me trembling and weak on the floor, his face drained of color. The pain in his eyes was unbearable, and he rushed to my side, pulling me into his arms. "Julia, I'm so sorry," he whispered, holding me close as if trying to shield me from everything. "I couldn't protect you." I felt his arms around me, his trembling hands, but I couldn't respond. I was numb, frozen. The world around me was spinning. Then my father turned to face David, who was standing motionless in the corner. David's face was ashen, filled with fear as the reality of what he had done set in. For a moment there was silence. Then Thomas let go of me, his anger suddenly flaring. He charged at David, his fists clenched in fury. "You dare do this to my daughter," he shouted in an instant. My father threw the first punch at David, knocking him back. David stumbled, but my father didn't stop. He pummeled him with punch after punch. Each blow seemed to release a lifetime's worth of pain and betrayal. The room erupted into chaos as people tried to stop my father, but no one dared approach him. I sat frozen, unable to move as I watched the scene unfold before me. Every punch my father landed felt like it was delivering the justice I had longed for, but at the same time, I felt detached. My face was blank, my body numb. I watched almost in a trance as my father fought back against the man who had ruined everything. Eventually, security arrived and the chaos was brought under control. My father stopped, his hands trembling with rage. I could barely comprehend what had just happened. My mind was in a daze, and I couldn't focus on anything except the fact that the nightmare was finally over. But it wasn't over for me. As I passed out, everything went dark. I was unsure how much time had passed before I woke up, but when I did, I was greeted by the sterile scent of antiseptic and the Harsh white light above me. I blinked a few times, trying to adjust to the bright ceiling. My body felt weak, every inch of me aching, as if I had been through a storm. The panic, fear, and pain of the night before came rushing back in waves, flooding my mind. I couldn't breathe. I started to cry uncontrollably, my sobs shushing my fragile body as I tried to move. The reality of my situation set in. Every muscle in my body felt stiff and sore, as if it had been held under strain for too long. The pain was unbearable. My thoughts were scattered, trying to piece together the horrific events that had unfolded. The feeling of David's hands, the horror of the situation, it all came back every time the door opened. I jumped in fear, my heart racing as if I was back in that bathroom, back in that nightmare. Every time I saw a shadow of a man or heard footsteps approaching, my body stiffened, bracing for more terror. Even though I knew I was safe now, my mind couldn't let go of the trauma that had gripped me. I felt a hand gently hold mine and looked up to see Thomas sitting beside me. His face was pale and filled with pain. His eyes were red, swollen from crying, and it broke my heart to see him in such distress. My strong, resilient father, the man who had always been my protector, was now broken. He was crying. I could see the tears falling onto his hand as he held mine tightly. "Julia, I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." I looked at him, my lips trembling, but I couldn't speak. My emotions were too overwhelming. My chest tightened. I wanted to tell him everything would be okay, but I couldn't. My throat felt tight. The guilt, the pain, everything I had endured weighed heavily on me, and I couldn't find the words. Misunderstanding, even going as far as to blame me for what happened. But the evidence was irrefutable. The testimonies, medical reports, and witness statements from the party all painted a clear picture of the horror that unfolded that night, and so the legal journey began. The court proceedings were long and exhausting, but my father's resolve only grew stronger. He stayed by me, offering his strength as I recounted every painful detail of the night. It was difficult reliving the horror again and again, but I knew it was necessary. I had to do this not only for myself but for others who might one day face the same danger. Finally, after weeks of tension, the verdict was delivered. David was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The moment the judge's gavel fell, signaling the end of the trial, I felt a rush of relief flood over me. David was no longer a threat. He would never be able to hurt anyone again. As I sat next to my father in the courtroom, his hand tightly holding mine, I realized that this was a victory, not just for me but for every survivor who had been silenced, who had been too scared to speak out. I had found my voice, and with it I had brought David to justice. As the officers escorted David away in handcuffs, a rush of conflicting emotions swept over me, but at the center of it all was an unexpected sense of closure. It was over. The nightmare that had consumed my days and haunted my nights was finally behind me, yet the relief I felt wasn't just for myself, it was for everyone impacted. The truth, now fully unveiled, had taken its rightful place in the light, and the truth, I reminded myself, holds an enduring, undeniable power. No matter how deeply someone might try to bury it, still, the pain didn't vanish in an instant. The wounds left behind by the ordeal were too deep, too raw to heal overnight. It was a slow process, a journey filled with moments where I doubted my ability to keep going. There were mornings when the weight of everything felt too heavy, and I questioned whether I had the strength to face the world again. On those days, despair whispered that I might never feel whole, that the shadows of what had happened would always linger, but I wasn't alone. My father stood steadfast beside me, his presence a constant source of comfort and reassurance. With quiet determination, he offered me more than just his unwavering support. He gave me his love, his encouragement, and an unshakable belief in my resilience whenever I stumbled. His words reminded me of the strength I had forgotten was within me. He never stopped believing in me, even during the moments when I couldn't believe in myself. Day by day, step by step, his faith became a lifeline. Little by little, I began to heal the scars of the past. Didn't fade entirely, but they no longer defined me. The pieces of my life started to come back together, each one stronger and more determined than before. In his unwavering presence, I found not only a sense of safety, but also a growing sense of hope. A reminder that even in the aftermath of a nightmare, light could break through the darkness. Ultimately, justice had triumphed, and with it, I found within myself a renewed strength to step forward into a future I had once feared. Yet I recognized that my journey toward healing was far from over. The wounds etched into my heart, though no longer fresh, remained tender, and I knew it would take time for their ache to subside. Healing is a process, one that cannot be rushed or forced, but one that unfolds in its own way, in its own time. What gave me solace, however, was the understanding that I didn't have to bear this burden in solitude. My father stood steadfastly by my side, his presence a beacon of unwavering support. Together, we would face the uncertainties of the road ahead, drawing strength from each other as we navigated whatever trials and triumphs lay in wait. My story is not merely a narrative of pain and trauma. It is something far greater. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and a reminder of the transformative power of courage and action. It speaks to the importance of breaking the chains of silence in the face of injustice. No matter how heavy the weight of fear may feel, to endure suffering in silence is to let it grow unchecked, but to confront it is to reclaim power over it. We must find the strength to raise our voices, to share our truths, and to seek justice not just for ourselves but for others who might be trapped in their own quiet battles. My journey stands as a reminder that fear, while a powerful force, is not invincible when we choose to act. Despite fear, to fight for what is right, we pave the way for healing, for change, and for hope to flourish. With that in mind, I want to share this message with anyone who might be silently enduring pain, feeling trapped in the shadows of an injustice they believe they cannot bring to light. If you find yourself in a place of suffering, if the weight of your pain feels unbearable and you believe no one will understand, I implore you to take a brave step forward. Speak up, use your voice as a lifeline, reach out to those you trust. Be it family, close friends, or compassionate professionals trained to help in times of need. There is no shame in seeking support, and there is strength in allowing others to stand beside you. You are not alone, even if it may feel that way at this moment. Remember, there are people who care deeply about you, who will listen without judgment, and who are willing to help carry the burden that feels too heavy for you to bear on your own. You don't have to face this struggle by yourself, nor should you. When you find the courage to speak up, you unlock the possibility of justice, of change, and of healing. Staying silent out of fear or uncertainty only keeps you bound to a situation where powerlessness thrives. Breaking that silence can be the first step toward reclaiming your strength and your freedom. You are stronger than you may realize, even if that strength feels distant or hidden. Right now within you lies the capacity not only to confront what you are going through, but to rise above it. Healing may take time, but it is possible, and by speaking out, you give yourself the chance to begin that process, to invite the support of others, and to move closer to the life you deserve. A life of justice, peace, and hope. You have the power to heal, and the courage you need is already within you. The path to recovery is rarely a straight or easy one. It can be winding, filled with unexpected obstacles and moments of doubt that make the journey feel overwhelming. Yet with every small step forward, no matter how difficult, you move closer to a sense of peace and wholeness. Each stride, no matter how hesitant, is a testament to your strength and determination along the way. Remember to show yourself the compassion and forgiveness you would offer to someone you love. Let go of the guilt or shame that might weigh you down, and instead choose to believe in your incredible ability to overcome. You are not defined by the pain of your past. It does not own you. You are defined by the resilience you show in moving forward and the hope you nurture for the future. My journey has taught me that standing up for what is right is about more than just self-preservation. It is about creating a ripple effect, a force for good that extends beyond your own life. It's about protecting others, about breaking cycles of silence and suffering so that no one else has to endure the same pain you faced. Advocacy, courage, and truth-telling can transform not only your own life, but the lives of countless others who may feel trapped, isolated, or voiceless. My story, while born from struggle, is ultimately one of resilience, of bravery in the face of fear, and of the profound power that comes from speaking out. By sharing my experience, I hope to offer a light to someone who may be navigating their own dark moments. If you're facing fears that seem insurmountable, I want you to know that justice is not beyond your reach, and neither is healing. With courage, you can overcome the obstacles that stand in your way. You have the right to live a life filled with happiness, to embrace a peace that calms your soul, and to envision a future unburdened by pain and fear. You are worthy of all these things and more. Let this be a reminder: no matter how far you feel from that place of wholeness, it is never out of reach. You have the strength within you to find it. Always hold on to the belief in yourself, even when the weight of life feels unbearable and the path ahead seems uncertain. You possess a strength within you that is far greater than you may realize, a strength capable of guiding you through the darkest moments. Remember, no matter how heavy the clouds may seem, The light is never gone. It might be hidden for a time, but it will always find its way back to you. Darkness is not eternal, and even after the most difficult days, hope has a way of shining through when you least expect it. I want to take a moment to thank you deeply and sincerely for allowing me to share my story with you today. What I have shared is more than just a recounting of events. It is a message, a heartfelt call to never lose sight of hope and resilience. My story isn't unique in the challenges it contains, but I hope it resonates with you in its message of overcoming. It's a testament to the idea that no matter how hard the road may seem, no matter how insurmountable the obstacles appear, there is always a way forward. I hope that in hearing my story, you felt even the smallest spark of inspiration. I hope it has reminded you of the incredible power you hold within yourself to face life's challenges with courage and grace. And most importantly, I hope it serves as a gentle reminder that no matter where you are in your journey, you are never truly alone. Life can be a winding and unpredictable road, but at its heart, it holds infinite opportunities for renewal and growth. There is always a glimmer of hope waiting at the end of even the hardest struggles. Hold on to that hope. Let it guide you. Believe in the possibility of brighter days, and in your ability to reach them. You are worthy of the light, the peace and the joy that await you on the other side of your trials. If this story resonated with you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you can stay connected to more stories like this one. Until next time, wishing you peace, joy, and the strength to keep moving forward. Goodbye for now.